Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here, and today we're going to talk about Season 2. So we have finished up Season 2, the most current season of Doctor Who, the latest season of Doctor Who. And I'm going to give my thoughts on it, and I'm going to rank it as well. Now, Season 2, for the most part, until up to really the end, was pretty consistently good. But not, like, S-tier good. Like, none of the episodes this season are S-tier episodes. But before the finale, I didn't think any of the episodes had been bad either. I spent most of this season kind of thinking of it as a modern Season 20, or how I think a lot of people view Season 20, where Season 20 doesn't have a lot of, like, high highs or low lows. It's pretty consistently C tier, B tier, maybe a couple A tiers. Not really any S tiers, especially if we're not including 5 Doctors. Not really any S tiers, but nothing that I thought was just bad. Nothing below C tier, which most of you know C tier for me is average. And I like Season 20. It's my favorite Davison season, even if it doesn't have an Earthshocker Caves of Androzani in it. I think it's a really good season. It also doesn't have a Warrior's Deeper Twin Dilemma in it. In Season 2, up to the finale, the 2-part finale, pretty much stuck with that for me. Where I found it consistently enjoyable. It is definitely one of the most consistently good seasons of Modern Who post-Series 5. And we've only had, I think, of all the seasons we've had since Season 5, we've only had 2 consistently good ones, with the other one being Series 12, oddly enough. Series 12 kind of having the same problem, where it's mostly consistently some level of good until you get to the finale. Not completely. Orphan 55 is not that good, and Praxis is kind of just there. But it was pretty consistently good until Timeless Children ruined it. And we kind of have that here, where you have a season that's pretty consistently B-tier good. You could argue knocking on the door to A tier, maybe just going in the door to A tier. But a lot of B tier, maybe some C tier. Nothing bad. But finale kind of ruined that for me. I didn't really like the finale. Wish World was... I knew how I thought on Wish World was going to very much depend on what they did with Reality War, much like what we had with the 2-part finale last year, where Legend of Ruby Sunday, my final thought on it was going to depend on what we got with Empire of Death, which was dreadful. Now, to be fair, I don't think Reality War is quite as bad as Empire of Death until, like, literally the last couple seconds, where it's just dreadful. Probably the worst thing that's ever happened in Doctor Who, period. Pretty dreadful. I can't think of a single episode of Classic Who that got that ridiculous. I can swallow green bubble wrap a lot easier than I can that casting choice. But I liked a lot of what was going on with this season, especially the first half or so. I especially think those first 3 episodes are really strong. I like the stories. I like how different they are. I liked Ncuti Gatwa's performance as the 15th Doctor. For the most part, he does cry way too much. He is definitely one of the more human Doctors, much like Tennant, much like Whittaker. Modern Doctor Who writes the Doctor a lot different than classic Doctor Who. They are very much written as different characters. That's just an objective fact. And don't get me wrong, even in Classic Who, incarnations of the Doctor were different from each other. But the Doctor is just fundamentally written different a lot in modern Doctor Who. Some incarnations get closer to classic Doctors than others. I can see classic Doctors in Capaldi. I think Matt Smith actually has a very alien feel to him. He does that very well. And Eccleston as well. But then you have these very human Doctors. Again, Tennant, Whittaker, and Gatwa, who do feel more like a human and less like an alien. And a lot of that's just down to the writing. I enjoyed some of the scenes. Like, I actually like an Interstellar Song Contest when the Doctor's kind of goes over the edge a little bit and is torturing the one guy, because that is a very human reaction, and he is a very human Doctor. And I feel like human Doctors, when they are more human like that, Tennant had this problem too, if you've ever heard me discuss the flaws with Tennant's Doctor, is while he gets a lot of the good that comes with humanity. He's very emotional, very caring, very compassionate, which the Doctor typically is, whether he's human or not. But it shows more on him. He also gets the negative of being human, where he can be a little more narcissistic, perhaps, a little more ego-driven, like Tennant is. And so the being so angry that he's torturing Kid in Interstellar Contest, I kind of chalk up to him being a more human incarnation of the Doctor and having that thirst almost for revenge, where he's angry and he can't quite snap out of it. That's to me, that's just a side effect of him being a very human Doctor. So I buy that. And plus, I think the scene's performed really well. And another thing I want to talk about is what happened to Belinda's character after, like, episode 3. Like, I really liked how Belinda was written. Especially in episode 1. She's written her best in episode 1. She's very critical of the Doctor, very not sure. Her whole speech at the end about him being dangerous. It's a nice, different dynamic between a companion and a Doctor, kind of hearkening back to Ian and Barbara, you know, being kind of unwilling to be there initially. And I get that she's going to soften up and get a little more comfortable with him over the course of the season, obviously. But she really felt like she had personality and character, I'd say, in the first 3 episodes. Robot Revolution, Lux, and The Well, where she still got a little more comfortable with him, but there was still, you need to get me home. And then we had Lucky Day, which didn't really have her in it much. And then by the time we got to the story in the engine, she's just there. She's very bland, just kind of this back. She could be, you could insert anybody there, just about. She just kind of becomes, you know, stock companion number 47. That's it. There's nothing about her that makes her unique or interesting at that point. And that's nothing against the actress playing her. She's just a two-dimensional flat character. I mean, 13's companions are more fleshed out. She just doesn't get anything. And then the whole bit in Reality War where they give her, the Doctor rewrites time to give her a child. I mean, she went from being single and seemingly fine being single and childless and being a nurse to having a child thrust on her, but she doesn't know it because time has been rewritten. I mean, when Poppy first disappears and, you know, Ruby's like, but you have a daughter together. And they, you know, remember Belle and the Doctor look at each other and just start laughing. Belinda finds the idea of having a daughter laughable. Literally laughable. She laughs. And then the Doctor rewrites history to give her this child. And she's a single mother. Well, not necessarily a single mother. I mean, apparently the dad is in the scenario, the way she talks, he's a good person, whatever. But, you know, you're not in a traditional relationship with someone, and now you have a daughter thrust upon you, which you had no choice in. And then what about the other Poppy, Space Baby Poppy? Is she still existing in the... It's really weird. It's really weird. I find Belinda's character very disappointing, because after episode 3, there's nothing. There's just nothing there with her. She just becomes the most generic stock companion I've seen, especially in modern Who. I mean, she's about as fleshed out as Dodo from that point on. And so that's disappointing. I feel bad for Ncuti Gat while only getting 2 seasons. I understand probably why he wanted to leave. He's an upcoming actor. I totally get that. But it's very much a Colin Baker situation. It's interesting how there are Doctor Who fans who are fans of 15 who are just now discovering the pain Colin Baker fans feel. Although at least they have far more stories than Colin got. With Colin only getting about 11 stories in the show proper. And not even a real regeneration. Although the Reality War, the end of it feels so weird. Like, you can tell there were reshoots. The regeneration just feels so tacked on. And don't even get me started on that regeneration of Billie Piper. Creative bankruptcy. The closest I have ever seen the show come to creative bankruptcy. It's literally, as someone who has seen every single episode of Doctor Who, all of them, the 97 missing episodes via animation or telestat reconstructions, plus some of them I've even read the novelizations of as well. But taking that into account, I have seen every episode now, a lot of which thanks to many of you who over the past few years have helped me with some of the holes I had in Classic Who. Super thanks to all of you who sent DVDs and box sets and all that fun stuff. It really did help. And it's very much appreciated. But now I have seen all of them, and I can say, as someone who has, been a fan of this show for 40 years, who's someone who can't even tell you who his first Doctor was because my living memory doesn't go back that far. I have literally been a fan of Doctor Who longer than I have living memory, since I was about 3 or 4 years old. I take a lot of pride in being able to see that. And as someone who has seen every episode, and someone who has been a fan of this show since he was about 4 years old, I think regenerating into Billy Piper is the stupidest thing I have ever seen the show do. The worst thing I have ever seen the show do. There is nothing at Classic Who you can point to me and say, that's worse. No. Trial of a Time Lord, better than this. The Web Planet, better than this. Kill the moon is an egg. Somehow, better than this. We've managed to set a new low bar. Wonderful. That's just, it's nothing personal against Billy Piper. I don't actually think she can carry off a good Doctor, but it's nothing against her personally. I think she's fine as Rose. I just don't like the idea of someone who was a companion coming back to be the Doctor. I think it's a stupid idea. I'm tired of the Doctor revisiting old faces. If you're going to do that, then just give me Paul McGann back. Or Joe Martin. You could have made Joe Martin the 16th Doctor. I'd have been on board. You could have made Paul McGann the 16th Doctor. I would have been on board. You could have made Tom Baker the 16th Doctor, even if it was just for a one-off special. I would have been on board. But Billy Piper? No. Why? And I just... Honestly, I miss... when was the last time we had a regular regeneration? Was it just 12 to 13? When it wasn't anything weird about it? A returning face or anything? It was just a regeneration. That's what? 2017? 8 years? 7.5 years. And I know I'm being overly negative, which is a shame considering, again, I think the season had some good episodes. First off, the incidental music has been very good this season. I forgot to mention that in my Reality War review. I really liked a lot of the incidental music in it. The incidental music has been great throughout this season. The visuals, for the most part, have been really good. In most of my reviews, I have commented on about how visually pleasing the episodes looked. Not Midnight, but The Well, I love how well it's done visually. Lux looks good visually. Robot Revolution, with its kind of retro 50s inspired vibe, looks phenomenal. Lucky Day is well shot. The story in the engine is very visually appealing. Interstellar Song Contest looks good visually, especially if you're a fan of Tron or something. Wish World and Reality War is kind of the weakest visually for me. Like, I don't really like the execution of Omega, for example. But it still doesn't look bad visually. It still looks nice. I do like the bone throne room kind of thing that she stays in. That's very the Ronnie. To me, I liked it. So visually, I found it very, very, very well made. You can actually see some of the Disney money. And again, solid stories for the most part. We'll go through and rank them in just a second. I liked Ncuti Gatwa the role. He's still one of my lesser Doctors, and the fact we're not really going to get any more screen time with him, more than likely. He's probably not going to get much higher on the list with only 2 full seasons, but I don't think he was bad in the role. A lot of the problems with his Doctor is the writing and the characteristics. It's very much... You can very much see Ncuti Gatwa and Russell T. Davies inserting themselves into this era a lot. Again, I have issues with the Doctor even being in normal relationships. Ten and Rose irk me. So I really prefer the asexual Doctor, like a classic Doctor. I really just don't like seeing the showrunners insert that much of themselves into the show. I mean, some of that's always going to bleed over. Barry Letts was very concerned about the environment, so he writes episodes where he's concerned about the environment. I get that. But that's kind of something everyone can universally agree on. The environment is a problem. There's so many Doctor Who fans that like the Doctor to have platonic relationships with his companions. They're friends. They're not always lovey-dovey. A lot of people don't want that Buffy the Vampire Slayer inspired Doctor Who. It's old hat at this point for the modern series even. It's one of the reasons I love the Doctor and Donna. They're just friends. Matter of fact, I love everybody keeps thinking they're a couple. I love the running joke of that. I liked that. As much as I don't like 12 and Clara together, because Clara's dreadful with 12, I do like the fact that, as much as people try to ship it, which is utterly ridiculous, but hey, you do you, 12 and Clara never come off as romantic vibes. They come off as more that eccentric uncle type. Kind of like Bill and the Doctor, where he's more like granddad, Which I like. I enjoy that. He's the cool granddad. For Clara, he's more the cool uncle, which I like. And boy, does she take advantage of that. God, Clara who? At least Belinda's better than that. So let's go ahead and rank the episodes. At the bottom of the list, and I will include Joy to the World in this, at the bottom of the list is Wish World and the Reality War. You bring back the Ronnie, who it's nice to see, and Anita and Archie are playing the Ronnies well. I like, their respective Ronnies. They're playing them well. I feel like she's underutilized. And I feel like I would like to see more of both of them. And I don't like the fact that we lose basically the Ronnies halfway through the episode. Omega. Ooh.
Look how they massacred my boy.
Omega. I don't even understand why you used Omega for this. You could have just invented another Time Lord for this. I mean, I guess it has to fit with her plan. And it's not that I can't headcanon and make it work that Omega became so mad and power hungry that he willed himself to be that, considering he had willed himself to still be in existence. And he is an arrogant fellow. So it's not like I can't see it. I just don't like it. Also, his CGI design is uninspired. It's not the worst thing ever. It doesn't bother me as much as Sutek, to be honest. It's just uninspired and a bit generic. I did like the fact that whoever was voicing Omega did kind of remind me of Stephen Thorne. It did kind of have that Stephen Thorne-ness to it, to where I could connect the voice, and it still kind of sounded like Omega to me, which I liked. The Doctor shooting him with an electric guitar, which just makes me think of Bluegrass from Silverhawks. Is absolutely weird. They're like, well, we had to change the sonic screwdriver because we don't want it to look like he's pointing a gun, because that's what I've always thought of when I saw David Tennant or Matt Smith pointing their screwdrivers. That looks like a gun. But no, they're going to give him this guitar thing and let him... It doesn't look like a guitar Prowl. It doesn't look like a gun Prowl. It looks like a guitar. With the power of like a billion suns. And then the bit with Poppy and saving Poppy is boring and takes too long. And then the Doctor sacrificing himself to power up which we know a Time Lord can trigger their own regeneration. They don't have to be injured to trigger it. We've seen that happen in Twin Dilemma when one of the other Time Lords triggered his regeneration when he didn't have any to help save the day, which was neat. Oddly enough, Twin Dilemma, better episode than the Reality War. Interesting. Yes, I stand by that. And yeah, I'm not even going to start with the regeneration into Billy Piper. Yes, I am. It's creative bankruptcy. I said that in my review. This is the closest I have ever seen the show come to creative bankruptcy. If they actually make her the 16th Doctor for the next season, I'm out. I will be done. I will walk away. I will be out. Now, if they're just doing it like a special, Like, maybe she's like some kind of middle ground and her and 14 have to merge to regenerate into 16, kind of like Legopolis with the Watcher. I'd be on board with that. You know, if it's a little one-off special until they get somebody and they don't actually count her as a numbered doctor, I'm okay with that. But if she's like the next doctor for the next season, nope. Nope, that's my line in the sand. I'm out. Next on the list is Joy to the World. This one's hit or miss with me. I love the stuff with Anita. I was happy to see Anita back in the finale. I liked Anita. The actress playing her is so amazing. I really like her in the role. I love her and the Doctor together. I love seeing the Doctor having to live a year in real time. And just that little montage of that was great. Didn't really care for, was it Nicola or Nicole or whatever her name is, who's kind of the other main character. She's fine. I don't really dislike her. I don't know her from anything else, but she's fine. She's not blowing me away. I didn't really care for the ending. Didn't really care for... I never care for how Modern Who does the Silurians. I just don't. Modern Who just ruined the Silurians. Yeah, most of the other stuff I just don't care for it. It's not necessarily a bad episode. It has some humorous moments. The bit with the T-Rex is pretty funny. But just for the most part, I find it largely forgettable. Next on the list is Lucky Day, Pete McTeague. Pete McTeague's episodes tend to be kind of middle of the road for me. I enjoyed Kerblam. I don't think it's S tier. I think it's a solid B tier story. Praxius is just very forgettable. I don't necessarily think it's bad. It's just kind of forgettable. You know, D or E tier, but not like F or G tier. And it's not a garbage story. And then Lucky Day is kind of maybe C tier. I enjoyed it well enough on first viewing, but I don't know how well it'll hold up for me on rewatch. Conrad does feel a bit caricaturish sometimes. Now, I do like, at least in this episode, that it doesn't really specify him being on a political side. This is very much one of those episodes. Remember when I was watching it, I knew as I was watching it, I was going to be like, everybody on the right's going to be going, yep, this is how the left acts. And then everybody on the left's going to be going, yep, this is how people on the right act. Now, of course, they narrow that down more with his character in the final, where they obviously make it look where he's more like, keeping in mind that Russell wrote the final. Russell is very, very left. And Conrad does, looking back at it, come across as a character that is written by someone who is extremely far left, and about how they think about a kind of generic take that they have on someone who is far right, which comes across as a bit cartoonish and a bit caricaturish. The actor playing him is fine, but I don't like that once he becomes Conrad, he does get a little silly at times. The grown-ups talking, I never buy that line. His whole plan when he sneaks into unit, it just feels like the most extreme take on what someone that minded would do. It's, you know, I don't watch that and find it believable at all, that somebody could infiltrate the base. I don't buy that. I just don't buy that. I think Millie Gibson's putting in a great performance. I'm always really impressed with her as an actress, to be as young as she is and to be able to carry scenes and episodes the way she does. She's phenomenally good and one of the strong parts of this. I like Kate Stewart in this episode a lot. I do. The guy playing Conrad is good. The little twist with, you know, Conrad actually being treacherous, I caught on to. I don't know how. It just clicked in my head, and I knew. And then, again, it visually looks very impressive in places. And I like the thing that the thing kind of bit his arm. That's funny. But yeah, I don't know how this one's going to hold up on rewatch. C tier at best for me. C tier at best. Not bad, though. To be this low on the list and still be at the average tier, pretty good for the season. Next is the Interstellar Song Contest, just barely edging it out. Part of this is, of course, I loved seeing Carol Ann Ford again. That made my day. I enjoyed the bit with the confetti gun. It's very much Princess Leia from Last Jedi, but you know what? You roll with it, and it's a confetti gun. Again, I like some of the incidental music in it a lot. I enjoyed this episode more than some people because I don't go into Doctor Who looking for political messages, so the whole Palestine-Israel thing literally means nothing to me. Literally nothing. And so I didn't go in with preconceptions about what politics the story was trying to tell, knowing full well the writer did have politics intended when she wrote it. I simply didn't care and turned my brain off to all that and enjoyed the episode for what it was. I actually enjoy the scene when he's torturing Kit. I do. The dude was about to murder 3 trillion people. I mean, it's like having the opportunity to whack Hitler with a baseball bat for a few times. Hell yeah. Sign me up. I'll stand by that. I have no problems with doing that. I mean, I enjoy Susan telling him to stop and then Belinda getting him to stop because I get that for the Doctor it's going too far. I would have loved to have seen Missy in that situation. Oh, Missy. That would have been fun. But, I mean, I thought Kid was a piece of crap and he deserved it. So, I enjoy the special effects of the episode. I liked all the people in different makeup and costumes a lot. And I thought the guest cast pulled the job off well. Naturally, seeing Ryan didn't really mean anything to me. I'm an American, so I was just like, okay. I do know who Graham Norton is, so I was like, okay, I don't watch his show, but I was still like, I know who that is. I get that reference, But, it was enjoyable well enough. Again, probably C tier, at least for Modern Who. If I was ranking it up against Classic Who, maybe D tier. But still, I enjoyed the episode well enough, which is fine. Next on the list, this is where we start getting into the solid B tiers, the stories I very thoroughly enjoyed to one degree or another. Next on the list is the story and the engine. I liked this one. I liked the guest cast. I liked the guy playing the barber a lot. It's great to see him back in Doctor Who again. I enjoyed the visuals of this story. I enjoyed the story itself. I liked the guy pretending to be all these different gods and the Doctor and Belinda just laughing at him. I like, seeing all the scenes of previous Doctors and how it actually made sense for them to be there because the Doctor has so many stories. I enjoyed it. I liked the ending where you find out it's not that the guy is necessarily a bad guy. He just, fair enough, wanted credit for the stories he wrote. I get that. He felt like he'd been cheated. Nobody likes to feel like they've been cheated. And I can sympathize with that. And all he wanted to do is get revenge on the gods. Which, I get it. You can compare that kind of Kit's problem, but Kit was going to not just murder the people responsible for what happened to him. He was going to kill 3 trillion people, including a lot of innocent people. Whereas this guy wasn't trying to harm humanity or even most, regular aliens' innocence. He was more just trying to get the revenge on the gods who wronged him. So I actually like him much more as a character. Plus, I do like the whole World Wide Web thing he created and the little comedy he makes on that. It's a very enjoyable episode that's very visually pleasing. Next on the list, I can't read my handwriting. Next on the list is Lux. And the top 3 for me are very close together. I like all of them. They're solid B tiers, with number 1 maybe being A tier. This is a solid B tier story. I like Lux. The animation looks really good. I like the 2D animation for Mr. Ring-a-Ding. I like his song. Alan does a good job voicing him. I like, again, the guest cast, the guy who works the diner, the woman whose son is missing in the diner. I like her playing actual her and the fake out scene with her. The projectionist, I like him. I feel like I connect with him as a character, even though, I can't, on one hand, I want to say he's a fleshed out character, but on the other hand, he's really not, but he feels like he is, if that makes sense. The actor playing him just carries him so well. Belinda is still interesting in this episode. The scene when they get animated is cool. The scene even when they meet the fans, the Doctor Who fans, which is a bit jarring, but it's still interesting. And a neat little take on the spin, and the actors playing the fans are fun. Still a bit jarring, but interesting. Mr. Ring-a-Ding stealing the regeneration energy and that not causing Shooty to regenerate is really weird, but you know, we'll ignore that. I mean, we've already done it with Capaldi, so why not? But yet he has to trigger it to... and then Mr. Ring-a-Ding, when he turns 3D, he looks so weird in 3D. And then the fact that the ending is just kind of, oh, that's it? He just steps out in the sunlight and oh, okay. The ending's a little easy, but I like the fact everybody in the theater survived. Plus the opening teaser when Mr. Ring-a-Ding first comes to life is really good. Really good. Love that cold open. Really well shot. Kind of surprised Spoons didn't play more into this because Spoons have been showing up so much in this era. So I'm kind of surprised we didn't see more of a tie-in with Spoons. Just saying. A lot of red herrings going on apparently. But this was a really good episode. I enjoyed it. Next on the list is the Robot Revolution. As I said, I really like the retro futuristic vibe of it. I love the bright colors. I love the design on the robots. I like how the design on the robot changes, like when they shoot the cat and it's the symbol of a cat. I think it's hilarious that Twitter got so upset over the cat getting killed. Not over the fact plenty of people got killed. They're cool with that, but the cat gets killed. No. Priorities. That's never gonna not amuse me. You know, you can have a movie or an episode where like 1,000 people get killed and they're like, that's cool, but like a dog or a cat gets killed and they're like, no. That just tickles me pink. But yeah, I liked I liked the way the story was executed for the most part. I really like Belinda in it. I feel like Belinda as a character is at her best in this very first episode. And of course, it's nice to see Mrs. Flood again. And then the ending is fine. And it's a nice, enjoyable setup for the season with the Doctor not being able to get her home and having to take a roundabout way to do it. Kind of like what we got with Ian and Barbara. I kind of like how it harkens back to that. And number one on the list was The Well. The only story that might slip into A tier, just barely. It's in that B plus A minus tier, maybe. That kind of area. I loved the atmosphere of this story. I loved the visuals. I loved the darkness of it. I loved the set design. I love Rose, the actress Rose in it. I liked her a lot. I can't remember the character's name, but I liked Rose playing the character. She was a standout part of the episode. I liked that they had the little screens when they sign language, had the screens there. That was pretty cool. I enjoyed the suits they wore. I actually liked their helmets with the suits. I liked the character of the other woman who's kind of the leader of the group. I enjoyed her well enough. And it's interesting because I never thought you could ever do a sequel to Midnight and make it work. And this episode does. It doesn't really take away the mystery of the Midnight entity. So it actually managed to do something I didn't think you could do. It has some rough spots. I don't like everybody kind of being killed all at once. I mean, I knew when I saw how many other people there were, I'm like, we've got cannon fodder. We've got a lot of extras about to get killed off. And they all kind of do it one time. And it feels like, well, this is a 45-minute episode. We've got to get some people killed off here. Got to make this thing look the threat. That and the Doctor stopping it by doing the Mercury is a little... It does that? Well, all right, we'll roll with it. It's not perfect, but it is very enjoyable. Solid B tier, maybe edging into A tier. So you had a lot of that this season where... And Belinda still had stuff to do this episode, which I liked. You had a lot of stories this season that were good, like really good, but weren't like greatest episodes of Doctor Who ever. Like none of the episodes this season stand up to Midnight, for example, or Blink, or Gridlock, or Utopia, The 11th Hour, you know, stuff like that. The best of the best, Heaven Sent. Even Thin Ice, and much less some of the best of classic Who, like City of Death, Pyramids of Mars, The Ark in Space, Inferno, Mind of Evil, Terror of the Autons, stuff like that. You know, nothing that ranks that high, that solid A tier, S tier, God tier stuff. But there were very few bad episodes, with only the bad episodes really being the two-part finale. That's really the only ones I'd call bad. So it's a pretty consistently good season without being must-watch Doctor Who greatest of all time stuff. And to have a consistently good season is great, with a Doctor that might be on the lower end of my Doctor chart, my Doctor rankings, but I like him. He's fine. I don't agree completely with how he's characterized, but he's fine. I enjoy him. He's very likable at times. Oh, I love him at the end of Dot and Bubble. He just totally steals it right there at the end. He has one great companion with Millie the first season, and it's nice to get more Millie this season. And Belinda starts out good and then just kind of becomes generic cardboard cutout 47, which is disappointing, and not Veranda's fault at all. Veranda's fine. And then, of course, once again, classic enemies being wasted. Can we just say that Russell T. Davies at this point does not know what to do with classic companions? To be fair, he's always kind of had a problem with it. I mean, even the Daleks he didn't write the best, keeping in mind that Dalek was not written by Russell T. Davies. His Series 1 and Series 2 finales were fine. Journey's End is fine. You know, they're solid B tier. Maybe edging into A tier, a couple of them, but nothing that's like just stellar, quintessential Doctor Who. And then, I can't remember if he wrote Evolution of the Daleks or not, but that one's fine. A little underrated, even. The Master, I don't think he's gotten the Master right a lot. Like, I think Derek is great as the Master, what little bit of time we get him, but John Sims' Master, especially at the end of Series 3, I don't really care for that zany Master. I don't feel like he gets the Master quite right. Understanding that different incarnations of the Master are like different incarnations of the Doctor. They're going to vary. But I don't really care for cartoonishly zany Master. He's better in End of Time, but still doesn't quite feel like the Master. And then the Cybermen still don't quite feel like Classic Who Cybermen. I feel like Russell's always had a problem with classic villains. And I guess you want to update them a little for a modern audience, but you can't lose the essence of those characters either. And the Cybermen in Modern Who are hit or miss, which I think the Age of Steel two-parter gets them fairly well, especially being an alternate version of the Cybermen. You give them some passes there, and they're all right in the series finale two-parter, but none of the stories are measuring up to like the 60s, 70s, and 80s stories, in my opinion, honestly. Especially the 60s stories. Matter of fact, I'll put Revenge of the Cybermen over most of them, too. I love Revenge of the Cybermen. And then, much less how much he gets wrong Sutekh and Omega. He just does. They just don't feel like Sutekh and Omega, I'll be honest with you. The Ronnie's fine. I actually don't mind how he did the Ronnie. That's probably the best he's done, a classic villain. Again, he kind of gets the Daleks, but, I really wish Russell would leave classic villains alone. I actually think Chris Chibnall does classic villains better. The Daleks, the Sontarans, it would have been interesting. Even the Master. Again, his Master's a little more Sims-like, unfortunately. But I think if Chibs' Master had been the first time we'd gotten a Master in the modern series, I think he would have been more like classic Masters, and he would have fit a little better. But he did the Sontarans and the Daleks really well. So yeah, I wish Russell would leave Classic Who villains in Classic Who, because I just don't feel like he adapts them well. So I want to know, what do you think of Season 2 and the stories in it? Comment down below and let's talk about it. Don't forget to click the like button, the subscribe button. I also have a Patreon if you'd like to support me on that. All the other fun stuff down in the description. Links to the Amazon wish list, links to the Amazon UK wish list, the P.O. boxes down there, all that fun stuff. I want to give a shout out to some of my top tier patrons, Colin Coney, Sam Venning, Finn Perkins, and Unknown289. I appreciate their support, as I do the support of all of my patrons. Most importantly, thank you for watching.